Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host Bill Stierle, and I want to make sure we acknowledge our listeners who I'm sure pay attention to what we say we're going to talk about. And we were going to talk about expertise in this episode, but once again, there's been a bit of a bombshell news story that really demands our attention today, and so we're going to pivot to that and come back to expertise in a future episode. So stay tuned for that coming up. Hopefully soon. But my goodness, Bill, the bombshell of the Bob Woodward book Rage, and the not as much the book right now, because the book is not officially out, but the recordings of excerpts of some of the interviews that Bob Woodward had with President Donald Trump have been coming out sort of as a pre-release to the book. And there's a lot to be shocked about there. And we want to discuss that today. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think communication-wise, as well as how the body works, when it's being interviewed. I mean, every human being thinks their self-worth is very high and thinks their respect is very high, and they're ascended to the highest place in the land, or the position of being a judge, or being a person that's in a high office, and they think, hey, look how good I am. Nothing can touch me. I can say whatever I want, and there's nobody looking over me, because no matter what I say or do, people are going to love me. In fact, a lot of people are going to love me, and I get to be this person that I am, and other people would wish they were me. And it's okay for me to talk openly, because no one's going to hold me accountable. And this is a big part of the tapes, the Woodward tapes, which are very unsettling, because you're listening to a person trying to manage the emotions instead of manage the situation. And I think that's the communication departure that we have a lot of room to talk about, because managing emotions, managing a person's panic is different than being honest with a person about a lethal illness that's in front of you. So this is a big thing. So that's where that disconnect, that emotional disconnect, takes place.
Boy, Bill, there are just so many things that are shocking, to see come out of this. And some of them is definitely the information on its face. Now, I don't think we are going to talk about that primarily, but I mean, let's just quickly address a couple of points where,
please,
back while President Trump is publicly downplaying the virus, saying that, it's going to go away. There's only, one person with it. Then there's only 15 people with it. But pretty soon there's going to be no people with it. And this was before there were any deaths. And, definitely trying to minimize the potential impact of the virus. At the same time, he's telling Bob Woodward it's really deadly and it's airborne. And I mean, you can see by what Trump said, he had been briefed and he really understood there's a significant difference between viruses that spread through physical human contact and ones that are airborne and spread through the air. And, he's saying that it's a deadly virus. I thought, as you listen to those tapes, those recordings, I actually thought, wow, the president seems like he's being really truthful, really forthcoming with Bob Woodward. And at the same time, he's telling all the rest of us, it's no big deal. Go about your business. Go ahead and travel, whatever. And that is certainly, one example of some of the differences between, the reality that Trump knew and was
Right.
talking about behind closed doors and what he and his administration are saying publicly. So that's one level of shock and disappointment, honestly, in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the feeling of outrage is right on target for a lot of people. We cannot minimize outrage, especially if you're someone who has lost a person. If somebody in your family or a loved one or a friend of yours got lost in this experience, the outrage is there. The challenge has to do with Trump's thinking, his marketing and selling mindset doesn't really fully have the skill to really manage an issue, and he's trying to manage an emotion called panic. And this is where I actually, have a lot of compassion and a sense of, awareness that, he just doesn't have skill to understand how to manage truth, how to manage honesty in a larger scale. See, you can manage truth around a product. I have the best steaks in the world. I have the best casinos in the world. I have the best football team. I can start my own football league. You can manage a product that way, but managing people that way, no, it doesn't work that way. You can't run out the clock, because what winds up happening is there's accumulation of resentment, bitterness, contempt, criticism, withdrawal. I mean, the criticism and contempt, the amount of criticism and contempt that is heading in, not just in the direction of Trump, but is in the direction of the Republicans. They only have two positions left. They have either be defensive or withdraw and not talk to anybody. And they're literally doing this. I know that we did an episode a while back called The Four Horsemen of a Communication Apocalypse. I know that I don't know what episode that is, but
oh my gosh, it was early on. I mean, it had to be
the
first 20 episodes.
Yeah. So this is that entire dynamic played out. He's talking with Bob Woodward communication wise, and the feeling of confidence, the feeling of, I'm going to set the record straight. I'm going to interview with this guy. He's going to tell the truth about me. I can manage the truth with him. He's going to be kind in my direction because he sees that I'm the president. He didn't really realize that, wait a minute, this guy is going to tape you. Whatever you say is going to come out, and it's going to be set in the field of time. And then that's going to influence the truth about other people and even the respect people have about you, how you handle a complex social issue. This is not how you handle, this is one way to handle a business issue is to avoid it, which you did, but that's not the way you handle a nation or an entire group of people, in this way. Anyways, so that's just a little meat for the bones of criticism and contempt are coming towards Trump and the Republicans, and it only leaves them defensiveness and withdrawal. You can see communication-wise, they're really stuck.
They are stuck, and that's become apparent not just with Trump being asked a question about did he downplay the virus in a press conference yesterday that had nothing to do with the virus, or at least initially it had nothing to do with the virus, and also other senators, Republican senators being asked about the revelation of the disconnect between what Trump said privately to Woodward and said publicly. I want to come back to that in a minute, though, because something you said was very interesting. When he's being interviewed, I also want to make it just really clear that to our audience, Bob Woodward had permission to record President Trump. He did not record him, in any sneaky way. He had full permission to record him. And in the couple interviews that were done in the Oval Office, actually the White House recorded them, but Trump knew he was being recorded. So on the one hand, he should know, but it's really interesting, Bill, to see how Trump thinks about these things, because most people would not just be thinking about what's right in front of them in that moment. They'd like playing chess, where they, if you play chess, a lot of it, you need to think 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 moves ahead, and that impacts what you do now. Trump was not thinking 2 moves ahead, let alone 10 moves ahead in this, or he would have been more careful with what he said. And it's appeared to me, Bill, I wanted to see if you felt the same, was that when Trump is revealing facts to Bob Woodward in these interviews about the virus, it's airborne, and now we first thought that it was mostly older people were getting it, but now we're seeing younger people are getting it, that it seemed like Trump was providing information to Woodward so that Woodward would be impressed with the president's knowledge, that he has information. He's the leader of the country. He's the big man and has the information. Did you get that too?
Yeah, the need for respect, the need for recognition, the need for acknowledgement are very, very much on the top of his list. If I can get a moment of recognition, a moment of acknowledgement. And Bob Woodward, for his part, is going like, yeah, tell me the truth. Oh, yeah, so that's what you were going through? I mean, you could hear Bob just going like, so yeah, that must have been, it was like a tough decision. It's like, and Bob was just staying out of the way. And then Trump goes like, yeah, it is tough. I knew there was going to be a lot of people that were going to die. It's like, and then it gives a sense and some reality if the person is having compassion for a person that is underskilled in the job that they're doing. We can literally take this as, and this is going to be the strangest thing I can say to you, Tom. It's when your 16-year-old daughter gets into a fender bender.
Okay.
How do you deal with that? And she comes up and she says, Dad, it wasn't my fault. And you go like, you're the one who made the U-turn in front of that other car or whatever the thing is they did. By the way, my daughter did this one. You made the U-turn on that bridge. You didn't have enough room to get there, and you didn't look at it. And now that that thing is kind of hanging off there, that bumper. And you know how much that U-turn cost you? Or me or us? It's like so. So in Trump's interviewing, he's kind of like interviewing like a 16-year-old going like, yeah, I had this and then I had this, and aren't I still great? Because I'm seeing the issue, but this is the choice I made. It's like, I don't know if that choice was the greatest one. And from a short-term run the numbers perspective, how much does, almost 200,000 Americans, how much economy are they worth? Now, notice I just changed a life into a commodity. This is very, very unsettling, even for it to come out of my mouth.
I was kind of surprised, but let's go with it. Okay.
It is very, very unsettling because from a numbers place, many businesses really have to kind of do it that way. It's like, I can only pay this person $20 an hour, I can only pay them $10 an hour, $7 an hour to make my business run. It cannot run if I charge them $15 an hour. It could, but then all of a sudden I'm pricing myself out of the marketplace because the people that purchase this thing, I've got all these international competition pieces that are going in. And that's why businesses move their factories overseas because they can save on their labor. They can save this. So the same thing has to do with life and illness. How much is this person? Well, if we're just losing old people, no big deal. That is a thought that people have. Can you imagine how unsettling that is? It's like it's wait a minute. What? Back up, Bill. Back up, Bill. Did you just say no big deal? It's not in alignment with, I'm not going to spend $100,000 to save this person's life when they're 85 and they only have 1, 2, or 3 more years left in a nursing home. I'm not saving that life because I don't want to spend $100,000 on it. Now I'm going to even make this worse. Okay, let's suppose there's an intersection and there is a fatal intersection with stop signs, and there's a fatal traffic accident, and then there's a second fatal accident, and then there's a third fatal accident here. Eventually, the people in the town say, hey, we need a stoplight here. Well, there were 3 people that died, and the stoplight cost $1.5 million to put in. Is it really worth that amount of money to save the next 3 lives? Well, the numbers don't really work out that way. I mean, it's so damn unsettling to talk in a quantifying way. And when somebody is brought up in that business mindset instead of the public service mindset, there's a huge emotional disconnect. It's the public servant mindset has to spend the money. They have to, because they're serving the public as the whole on the long run. On the long run, they're saving it. Okay, they're not looking at, hey, yeah, what are we going to lose? 3 lives, every year and a half. That's not that many lives to lose. And is it really worth $1.5 million to put that light in there? Well, let's just up it up. Well, if we really spend X number of $1 million on PPE, or PPP, the protective gear, is that really going to really bring us the value that we need? And you know what? Just wait until we can make it at the cheaper rate. Don't buy it at the emergency room rate, because the price goes up. It's all those people that were hoarding hand sanitizers. Remember those characters?
I do.
And they got so much heat. Oh my gosh, you bought the hand sanitizer for $2 and now you're selling to people for $15? And the answer is, yeah, I'm a capitalist, just like the president is. I'm doing the same thing he's doing. But he's, you see what I mean? It's like, Oh my gosh. It's like, now we look at that as greedy businessmen. We look at it as greed. But capitalism says, I'm being opportunistic of the crisis. I'm taking advantage of the thing. And the emotional discount, is, I am not caring about the impact of the person having water, of the person having a safe environment. I don't care about asbestos. I don't care about lead, because he rolled both of those 2 things back. I don't care about the water in Flint. I don't care about the water in New Jersey and whatever town with fracking. I don't care. So what? Somebody doesn't get clean water, move to a better town.
Wow. Well, yeah. So this is the what's very apparent is that Trump definitely appeared to be emotionally disconnected from the potential lives lost, and I think in general he's not very compassionate or empathetic at all, and he doesn't have much emotional I don't know if the word is intelligence or whatever, but he's emotionally disconnected, and that's a certain leadership style that is not interested in safety and protection of the people as much as it is the, appearances of him in certain ways. And it's very disappointing on the whole, because it's clear that if in January, when he was saying some of these things to Bob Woodward, and even in early February, if he had taken decisive action back then, we may have tens of thousands of more people, if not, over 100,000 people that would still be alive today. We don't really know the actual number, but if they had stopped international travel sooner, I mean, not just coming in from one country, China, but everything, and quarantined sooner, it would have been a shorter quarantine, and we would have been returned to normal activity sooner and really stopped this virus and prevented a lot of people from dying, saved a lot of lives. But he just doesn't see it that way, or he didn't care at the time. He didn't see it that way at the time, or didn't care. So on its face, the Woodward tapes are revealing something very shocking. And in fact, there's two other things I want to throw in here before pivoting to what I think is the most shocking aspect of this whole situation. But that this has put Republicans on the defensive, trying to defend Trump. Senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, was already scheduled to be interviewed on some things yesterday, and he sort of got thrown into the meat grinder unprepared. And they're asking him what he thinks about the difference between what the president said privately on a certain date and then publicly what he was saying. And he just drifts back to, well, I don't really care much about these gotcha books. I really don't want to comment much. I don't hold a lot of stock in these gotcha books. I'm paraphrasing, but he's calling this a gotcha book as if it was a surprise. But again, the president sat down for 18 interviews, some in person, some over the phone, all of them recorded. And it's anything but a gotcha book. That's so that they're having trouble. Republicans are going to have a real hard time reconciling that. And that we saw some of that yesterday. But the other thing that I think we need to mention is even Bob Woodward is coming under some criticism and a little fire because he sat on this information for 6 months after, some of the interviews before revealing any of it. And does he bear responsibility for not bringing it out sooner and saving lives?
Well, is the press a public servant?
I think it's supposed to be, isn't it?
yeah, part of it. And the challenge though is that we've got, if media messages get launched too early and there isn't a brand formation and a sequential branding message over time, what happens is the thing comes up and it looks like a one-off. And then everybody gets a dogpile on that one-off instead of it being, well, I wrote this book and oh, by the way, here's the tape of it. And oh, by the way, here's other people corroborating it. So Woodward, if it was back, when he was doing this stuff with Nixon, because there's a lot of correlations between Trump and Nixon here, is that if that's happening at the time of Nixon, it was easier for Woodward and Bernstein to reveal small pieces of information because of the media's uptake and the slowness of the media. Great. But now you launch one thing and the internet and cable news just jumps all over it. True, untrue, true, untrue. And it literally polarizes things. But if you have 3 solid pieces of it is written here, it is spoken here, here is the example of what it is, and other people corroborate it, Now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, try to dogpile on this. I got three big pieces of evidence for you. So Woodward's accountability, is a big is going to take a little bit of the ding until we empathize with his position, going like the media landscape has changed and the communication landscape has changed to such that if AOC launches the Green New Deal, people just jumped on it and they're going like, oh my gosh, we needed to do a better job of marketing and branding this before we brought it out, because they just literally ripped it apart. And then all of a sudden they take a small message about cows or planes or whatever, and they're going like, what the heck? It's like, it's very, very unsettling.
That could have been handled much, much better. If you were a marketing and branding expert, you would have rolled it out slowly in a different way that was kind of like a sneak attack. People wouldn't even realize what happened when all of a sudden the thing grabs a foothold and gets traction. So yeah, I think they may have shot themselves in the foot rolling that out too quickly. But certainly Woodward, it's in Woodward's best interest and maybe the publisher's best interest to wait, bring out the book a month and a half before the election, gets a lot of attention, but maybe Woodward doesn't see himself as the same kind of public servant, but certainly had he leaked the information that the virus was much worse than it was early on, maybe we would have saved some lives, but he probably wouldn't have a book today. Certainly his interviews with the president would have been cut off at that point.
So let's you and I take a look at the media landscape from a communication standpoint for a microsecond here. If he would have waited 2 more weeks and this would have showed up 2 more weeks later, or if it would have been 2 weeks earlier than this moment, can you see how that there is so much churning that's going on of news story? If it was 2 weeks earlier, the stuff with the Department of Justice that comes up would then eclipse this. And then if it was 2 weeks later, then the Department of Justice would have been lingering and jumped on this, but then there would be a new story here. So it's really dicey in our new communication environment to when a launch is to take place. There's literally a fractioning of time and space here. I know it's a really weird thing to say, but it's really a separation of a person's consciousness from stability, certainty, trust, truth. All of those things are being pulled apart, and it's kind of like bringing up a lot of stuff: doubt, skepticism, hesitancy, confusion. And this makes it easier for a person that voted last time the way they voted to vote the same way as they did this time, that they're going to this time. The more confused, the more doubtful, the more skeptical you are about the world, the more the person's going to go back and vote the same way. The more it is. Now, there's a certain group of people that are free from that. The hope is somewhere between, 10, 15, 20% of those folks are able to wake up and go like, wow, this is not the best direction that America is to go in. Or if it's the other way around, it's like, I'm too scared to do anything different. I'm going to stay with my vote, or I'm too scared to go in to vote, or I'm not going to vote because there's a pandemic, or I mail in a vote and I'm not sure the vote's getting counted. So what's the point of voting? I mean, there's a lot of danger that happens when doubt and skepticism are cultivated. In communication, the brander in chief, the marketer in chief, which Trump is, it's all about, I'm not going to take a bad hit on this. My brand's not going to be damaged too bad. It's not about truth. It's about, I'm not going to take a bad hit on this. My people are still going to stick with me. My brand's not going to be really damaged. It could have been the selling point as well. It could have been much worse if you would have had, somebody else in there. Of course, it's not compared to anything because there's been such a disparity with Obama. It's like, no, no, no. It would have been better because we watched a previous president keep Ebola off our shores mostly. We watched somebody handle a pandemic. You didn't. He did. And that's the fair comparison. It's here's some things that were done to stop this thing. And yeah, it's a really great idea to cost cut, America and fire everybody on the pandemic board. And it's a good short-term dollar save. Look how much money you saved by cost cutting.
Oh my gosh. Now look how much we spent, trillions of dollars on economic stimulus and relief because of the pandemic that wasn't prevented. So, clearly that amount of money saved is so little in comparison. No one's even going to care about that. But this bill kind of segues into what I think is the most shocking reality of this entire revelation of the Woodward recordings with the president, is that the president actually volunteered to do it. He wanted to be interviewed by Woodward. Now, let's just set up a little history. 2018, Woodward writes a book called Fear. And he interviewed a lot of other White House staff, but not the president. And the president didn't like that. And he, as I've read several articles and heard some news reports about this that that seem to make a lot of sense anyway to me. I'm not going to vouch for their complete truth and authenticity, but my understanding is that when Trump learned Woodward was preparing to write another book, he's like, oh, well, this time I want to be interviewed because I want to set the record straight. And he believed that he could convince Woodward to write a book more favorable to him. So Trump volunteered to be interviewed and agreed to be recorded. To me, the fact that he agreed to be recorded is the most shocking blunder of this whole thing. And you talk about how there's some parallels to Nixon.
Yeah.
This shows me that Trump is not a very good student of history, because if he were, he would have known that it was the recordings, the Nixon tapes, that ultimately brought him down and forced his resignation. The recordings of what he said in the White House were subpoenaed. They were going to become public. There are some missing ones, but so many of them did become public. Everybody heard what the president said. And we also know from history that had Nixon burned the tapes, which he had them, he had control to do it. And even I remember an interview with Alexander Haig, who was one of his cabinet members, he and one other cabinet member came to him and said, you're going to need to resign, or here's the only option we think you can take to avoid, being tried for impeachment is, to resign. But they also had told him if he just burned the tapes, and for whatever reason, Nixon didn't do that. He didn't burn the tapes. I don't know why he didn't want to destroy evidence. But
they have a version of integrity that is based in I'm a man that's respected. I'm a man that has a great deal of acknowledgement and success. I'm a man that has been well recognized because people voted for me. My identity is my brand. My self-worth is there. Therefore, what I'm saying is in integrity. And that's where the slip up is that they have their version of integrity.
So Nixon didn't burn the tapes and it brought him down. Trump should have known, don't let yourself be recorded, and certainly not in private conversations. I mean, how naive is this guy? And that's, to me, the shocking part and disappointment, is that he either didn't think the recordings were going to come out, or again, he's not thinking ahead 4, 5, 6, 10 moves ahead in the sort of the chronology of his presidency. And then, he actually was not marketing, selling in these interviews with Woodward as much as he did publicly.
No, he wasn't.
So, I mean, this was just such a blunder. It's honestly a very, very, very dumb move, and just so disappointing on the one hand. On the other hand, I'm personally relieved that truth is being revealed. So I personally like that, but it's like, oh my gosh, you just shot yourself in the foot again. So that to me is the shocking part. It's like he is really a moth that can't stay away from the light. And that, I think, is his biggest downfall.
People want to have a sense that my truth is the truth. It provides a good deal of certainty for people. My version of integrity is integrity. My version of truth is the truth. And people will listen to me and consider that and exclude all the other points of truth. And they will push those away because they respect me, they recognize me, they acknowledge me. I have a strong brand identity. I believe my kids are great. I believe that that they have some really wonderful things that they're bringing to the world. Look at these people, and they're a chip off the old block, which is great because, I am, they are me, I am them. And this is the people I need to really concern about. And then it's the same. It's very, very similar to what the English monarchy gets itself into. It's like, we're protecting the, one uncle or one cousin that is, not so good, but, oh, look at they're a part of royalty, aren't they? So that's also a part of the truth too. So there's definitely a lot to unpack in this one to give us some awareness and some, insights on, why does a person do this? It looks naive or stupid or idiotic to use some labels, but really it's just in alignment with how their worldview is defining their actions from a communications place. There's not really a lot of judgment here. There's sort of like, wow, interesting way the person walked themselves into the bear trap.
And boy, did he. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the shocker. But you know what? I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to say about this in coming weeks. I'm sure as the full book comes out and in different ways the White House tries to do damage control, there'll probably be more to come on this one.
That's right. Well, more to come, Tom. Thanks a lot. This is great.
Thanks, Bill. I enjoyed it. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.